Sports fans are extremely loyal, and few things sting more than seeing a beloved player leave the team under controversial circumstances. In NHL history, several star players have earned the label of traitor from once adoring fanbases. Jerseys get thrown away, boos echo through arenas, and names once cheered with pride are spat out like curses. Today we will speak about notable cases where beloved NHL players became traitors to their team. From Marian Hossa's leap to a rival to John Tavares' emotional homecoming that gutted Long Island. These are the stories of when NHL players become villains to their own team. Marian Hossa was born in Slovakia into a hockey family. His father was a former player and even a coach for the Slovak national team, which meant Marian and his younger brother, Marcel, grew up with hockey in blood. Hossa's talent was evident early, and both brothers rose from their small town to reach the NHL, with Marian being selected in the first round in the 1997 draft by the Ottawa Senators. But it was Hossa's mid-season trade to the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2008 that set the stage for the drama to come. Acquired by Pittsburgh as a rental for a Stanley Cup push, Hossa proved his worth by helping the young Penguins squad reach the 2008 Stanley Cup final. However, they fell just short, losing to the Detroit Red Wings in 6 games. That summer, as a free agent, he would make a stunning choice that would enrage Pittsburgh fans. Despite being offered lucrative long-term deals and the majority of the fanbase expecting him to sign it, Hossa turned down the money and the contracts to sign a 1-year contract with Detroit, the very same team that had just beaten Pittsburgh. He famously explained that he believed the Red Wings gave him the best chance to win the cup immediately, so he was willing to sacrifice financial security for a shot at glory, and this did not sit well with Pittsburgh fans. Penguins fans who had briefly been idolizing Hossa felt betrayed and gutted, and when the Red Wings visited the Penguins the next season, the Penguins supporters showed Hossa the relentless boos and even signs calling him a traitor. In their eyes, Hossa had used Pittsburgh as a stepping stone and then bolted to a rival, an unforgivable sin in sports fandom. Ironically, Hossa's gamble didn't pay off that year, at least not immediately. Detroit did reach the 2009 Stanley Cup final, making Hossa appear in back-to-back finals with different teams. But in a twist of fate, they lost to Hossa's old Penguins teammates. Hossa had to watch his former club lift the Stanley Cup instead. However, this didn't really deter the Slovak winger in pursuit of a championship. In 2009, he signed a long-term deal with the Chicago Blackhawks, a young squad on the rise. This time, the move finally paid its dividends. Hossa became a veteran pillar for Chicago's dynasty, helping the Blackhawks squad capture 3 Stanley Cup titles in 2010, 2013, and 2015. And the quote-unquote traitor at least earned redemption on the ice. Hossa's career ultimately stretched 19 NHL seasons, and he quietly retired in 2018 due to a rare skin condition that made wearing equipment unbearable. Whilst Penguins fans may still have hard feelings for him, today Hossa is celebrated as a legend of the game, though the saga of the 2008 decision still remains a defining chapter in how passionately fans treated loyalty. And honestly, stories like Marian Hossa's show how quickly emotions in sports can flip. One day you're celebrated, the next day you're branded a traitor. This kind of sudden shift, the resentment, it can feel overwhelming, even outside of hockey. And I've had my own moments where expectations didn't match reality, and talking it through helped me keep perspective. That's why I'm glad to have today's paid partnership with BetterHelp. A therapist can listen, ask questions, and help you see things from a new perspective. With BetterHelp, you fill out a quick questionnaire and get matched with a credentialed therapist as soon as possible. And if you feel like it's not the right fit, you can switch your credentialed therapist at any time at no extra cost. BetterHelp has over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, so you know it's a platform you can trust. To get started, go to betterhelp.com/sino or simply just click the link in the description and you'll get 10% off your first month. And I would like to say a big thanks to BetterHelp for being the paid partner of today's video and for supporting conversations like this one. Now, let's move on to another player who shocked his fanbase, John Tavares. If Marian Hossa's decision left Pittsburgh fans heartbroken, John Tavares' departure from the Islanders was a full-blown gut punch. He wasn't just a star, he was the captain, the franchise cornerstone, and the face of Long Island hockey, which just made his next move all the more devastating. John Tavares grew just outside of Toronto, seemingly destined for stardom, and he dominated junior hockey from a young age. In 2009, the New York Islanders made Tavares the first overall pick in the NHL draft, hoping he would be the franchise savior. And Tavares delivered. Soft-spoken, yet driven, he became the face of the Isles for 9 seasons, serving as team captain for 5 years and providing countless clutch goals. By the late 2010s, he was beloved on Long Island, a superstar who fans hoped would spend his entire career with. But that dream shattered in the summer of 2018. As Tavares approached free agency, the Islanders management and fans anxiously awaited his decision. Publicly, the captain had indicated he was open to staying, saying all the right things about loving the team and community. But when July 1st arrived, Tavares stunned the hockey world by signing a 7-year, $77 million contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs, his childhood team back in Ontario. For Islanders fans, this was nothing short of betrayal. Tavares didn't just leave, he left for Toronto, a franchise often viewed with contempt by New York Islanders fans, and he did so after giving them hope he might remain. The ex-captain became public enemy number 1 in the eyes of Isles supporters. The next season, when Tavares returned to the Islanders arena, this time in a Maple Leafs jersey, the anger reached a fever pitch. The Islanders fans filled the arena with chants and boos. They wore defaced Islanders jerseys with Tavares' nameplate replaced by the words like traitor, and even with images of snakes. Some literally drove over his jersey in the parking lot and burned his shirts in trash barrels. During the game, a rain of boos greeted every Tavares' shift. One fan even threw a jersey at him as he left the ice. Normally, mild-mannered Tavares admitted the environment was harsh, but tried to keep his composure by saying, "They have their feelings, and that's out of my control." What especially infuriated Islanders fans was the belief that Tavares had led them on. In their view, he had indicated a desire to stay, but then secretly entertained other teams and bolted at the first chance he got, leaving the Islanders with nothing in return. Chants of "we don't need you, you're a liar" echoed through the game, and it was one of the most hostile receptions any returning player has ever faced. From Tavares' perspective, the move was driven by a rare opportunity to fulfill a childhood dream of playing for his hometown Leafs and to do so with a team that offered a promising chance at contention. But such sentimentality offered no help to the Islanders fans who felt abandoned. However, it didn't turn out all so bad for the Islanders. The Islanders initially expected to crumble without their star. Instead, they found renewed purpose under new management and have enjoyed playoff success in subsequent years, a development that fans proudly tout as evidence that they don't need the traitor. While Tavares has performed well as a Maple Leaf, even becoming the team captain, the ultimate goal, a Stanley Cup, remains elusive. As of 2025, Toronto has not advanced past the second round, and NHL fans still quip about Tavares' decision to go back home. For now, John Tavares' name is still public enemy number 1 for the Islanders fans, a story of how even a decade of service can be overshadowed by one summer's decision. Tavares' exit showed how fragile loyalty can be in today's NHL. However, years earlier, Kariya proved the same point in Anaheim, when a captain and a franchise icon shocked his fans by simply walking away. Kariya's story is one of brilliance on the ice and a bittersweet turn of events off of it. Born in Vancouver, Paul was raised with a strong work ethic and athletic pedigree, and from a young age, Paul was showing his hockey talent. Kariya attended the University of Maine, and in Paul's freshman year at Maine, he led the Black Bears to an NCAA championship and won an award as college's hockey top player, a feat no freshman had achieved before. Shortly after, he was drafted 4th overall in the 1993 NHL entry draft by the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. He was a dynamic scorer with a gentle demeanor who, along with Teemu Selänne, gave the franchise legitimacy. By the late 1990s, Kariya was captain and was the heart and soul of the Mighty Ducks. He led them to an improbable Stanley Cup appearance in 2003, memorably returning from a vicious open ice hit in Game 6 to score a goal. Although Anaheim fell one win short of the cup that year, Kariya's legacy as a Ducks legend seemed secure. That's why the events of summer 2003 came with such shock. In a move that astonished fans and team management, Kariya left the Anaheim Ducks to sign with the Colorado Avalanche, seemingly turning his back on the franchise he once helped build. Context, however, was complicated. The 2003 offseason occurred under the old NHL financial system, and Kariya's contract, as he earned $10 million in 2002 to 2003 season, put the Ducks in a bind. Rather than extend a pricey qualifying offer to retain his rights, Anaheim's GM, Brian Murray, let Kariya become an unrestricted free agent, expecting perhaps to negotiate a lower deal. But Kariya had other ideas. Eager for a championship, he orchestrated a package deal with his close friend Teemu Selänne, who himself had departed Anaheim in 2001. The two superstars agreed to reunite in Colorado, each taking far less money they could have gotten elsewhere. Kariya's contract with the Avalanche was a mere $1.2 million for 1 year, an $8 million pay cut taken explicitly for hockey, and a shot for the Stanley Cup. It was a bold gamble by Kariya, and Ducks fans felt utterly betrayed. From their perspective, their captain had jumped the ship at the first opportunity given, even if it meant leaving money on the table. And worse, he enticed their old favorite, Selänne, to go with him. Anaheim's front office was misled as well. General Manager Murray said he was upset how things unfolded, and later recounted that he never imagined Kariya would actually depart. The Ducks fans were stunned and hurt. They vented their anger by booing Kariya, every time he returned to Anaheim in an opposing jersey. A once beloved figure was now the target of ire. Newspapers ran comments about Kariya being a traitor who abandoned the community that adored him, and the fans that once loved him now hated him. Unfortunately, the Colorado experiment did not yield the happy ending he sought. The 2003 to 2004 Avalanche, despite adding Kariya and Selene to an already stacked roster, fell short in the playoffs, and Kariya's season was full of injuries, and the Stanley Cup remained out of reach. After the NHL lockout, Kariya continued his career with stints in Nashville and St. Louis, returning to all-star form at times, but never shaking the injury bug. He retired in 2011, having never won a championship. Time eventually healed some wounds between Kariya and the Ducks, and in 2015, Anaheim finally welcomed him back for a reunion of the 2003 finals team. A few years later, in 2017, Kariya entered the Hockey Hall of Fame, fittingly alongside his good friend Timo Selänne, and the same season, the Ducks retired Kariya's number 9. These days, Kariya lives a peaceful life, far from the spotlight, and his journey from hero to traitor and back to being honored is a complex one. In one moment, Ducks fans sensed a betrayal, but the other, they came to terms and learned how to forgive him. Kariya's decision left Anaheim reeling, but he wasn't the only captain to break his city's heart. In Ottawa, Daniel Alfredsson's unexpected move to Detroit hit fans with a sense of the same betrayal. Daniel Alfredsson was the face of the Ottawa Senators for nearly 2 decades. A low 6th-round pick in 1994, the Swedish winger exceeded every expectation, becoming team captain and the franchise's all-time scoring leader, and a symbol of loyalty and perseverance. Alfredsson guided Ottawa through its highs and lows, from early expansion team struggles to a Stanley Cup final appearance in 2007, all while embodying the community spirit. He was so beloved in Canada's capital that he earned honorary citizenship, with fans naming their children and even pets after him, and the city unofficially making Alfie Day in his honor, all of which made his departure in 2013 feel like an earthquake. At age 40, after 17 seasons in Ottawa, Alfredsson shocked the hockey world by signing a 1-year deal with the Detroit Red Wings. The Senators had offered their longtime captain a contract extension, but negotiations didn't work out, and Alfie felt he had taken hometown discounts in the past and now wanted fair value, alongside a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Whether due to misunderstanding or hardball, the two sides couldn't align, and on July 5th, 2013, the news broke that Alfredsson was leaving for Detroit. The Senators fans were left into shock. It was almost unthinkable, Alfredsson playing in anything other than a Senators jersey. The media in Ottawa described an almost grieving process among the fanbase, some whom felt betrayed to their core. Alfredsson had been touted as a Senator for life, so his decision to go to the Red Wings left many fans hurt and blindsided. The reaction, especially online and on sports radio, was negative. Some fans directed their anger at Alfredsson, calling him a traitor for leaving the team that made him a star. They couldn't fathom why their hero would choose Detroit, a conference rival that Ottawa had a history with, over finishing his career at home. Boos were promised for his return in a Wings uniform, and indeed, when Detroit played in Ottawa that December, some in the crowd booed to the man they once cheered. To be fair, many Sens fans took a nuanced view. A significant amount of fans actually aimed their fury at Ottawa's management, believing the organization had failed Alfredsson by botching his contract talks. Alfie deserved better, was the sentiment many fans had. Still, the emotion and immediate aftermath was heartbreaking. Alfredsson's own explanation why he left was for hockey reasons. He genuinely thought Detroit would give him the best shot at a Stanley Cup before he hung up his skates, and the Red Wings were actual contenders, while the Senators were retooling with youth. In Detroit, Alfie had a solid final season, but the championship he wished for never materialized. Nagging back injuries forced him to retire after a single season in Detroit. Importantly, any rift between Alfredsson and Ottawa did not last. In December 2014, a little over a year after leaving, Alfredsson signed a 1-day contract to retire officially as an Ottawa Senator. That night, wearing his oath number 11, he skated on a home ice one last time, at a standing ovation from the crowd. Alfredsson's saga is a reminder that even the most loved heroes can face scrutiny if they depart on terms that fans can't accept, but also that genuine bonds can overcome temporary bitterness. If Alfredsson's departure stunned Ottawa, the pain was also familiar. Years earlier, the Senators had already watched another cornerstone slip away when Zdeno Chara chose Boston over staying in the capital. Standing 6'9", Zdeno Chara is literally one of the biggest figures in NHL history. The Slovak defenseman's journey from a raw project to a Stanley Cup champion is remarkable on its own. But along the way, he too experienced a chapter where fans painted him as a traitor. Drafted in the 3rd round in 1996 by the New York Islanders, Chára took time to develop, and it wasn't until a trade to the Ottawa Senators in 2001 that his career truly blossomed. In Ottawa, Chára became an absolute force on the blue line. a shutdown defender with a thunderous slap shot. And by 2005 to 2006, he was an alternative captain of the Senators squad. Then came a fateful summer in 2006. Both Chára and fellow All-Star defenseman Wade Redden were pending free agents, and the Senators faced a salary cap crunch. They couldn't afford to keep both. Ottawa's management publicly stated that their desire was to retain both if possible. But behind the scenes, a tough choice loomed. Ultimately, the Senators signed Redden to a new deal, and Zdeno Chara walked away. He walked away to the Boston Bruins, signing a rich contract that July. Ottawa fans were stunned and distraught. In their eyes, the team had lost a cornerstone. And worse, he was going to a division rival, the Boston Bruins, for a big payday. For many, it didn't matter that the NHL economics played a huge role. Many Sens fans saw it in emotional terms. The Zdeno Chara chose to leave us for a better contract. They felt the towering Slovak had chased the money, abandoning the team that built him. In truth, the situation was more nuanced. Chara had reportedly been willing to stay for the right price, but Ottawa prioritized Redden when they couldn't meet Chara's expectations. Nevertheless, fans had a villain to direct their disappointment at, and for a while, Chara was cast the bad guy in Ottawa. The narrative only intensified when Chara quickly found success in Boston. He was named the captain of the Bruins squad, and within a few years would lead Boston to a Stanley Cup championship in 2011, fulfilling the promise that many in Ottawa had hoped he would fulfill in a Senators jersey. Meanwhile, Wade Redden, the player Ottawa kept, saw his performance decline and eventually departed the team, making it easy for the Sens fans to rue the decision. To this day, Sens fans still curse GM John Muckler for choosing Redden over Chara, noted one Ottawa columnist, underscoring how in hindsight, the move was viewed as a franchise-altering mistake. After fans realized the front office blunder, they moved their anger towards the management, but others couldn't help but resent Chara himself for leaving, and seeing Chara dominating for Boston was just salt in the wound. Over time, however, Sens fans acknowledged that Chara's departure was more of a failure of the organization than the betrayal of a player. Emotions cooled, and fans started to understand the situation, especially after Ottawa managed to make the Stanley Cup final without Chara in 2007, though they lost. Chara's professionalism made him hard to hate, even after leaving. In Boston, he became a Hall of Famer, captaining for 14 seasons, winning a Norris Trophy and lifting the Stanley Cup. Ottawa fans eventually softened, cheering him on returns and congratulating his 2022 retirement. The traitor label faded into regret, not anger. And over the years, fans still go back to the same question: what would have happened if Big C stayed in the capital?